What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2020 Genesis G90. So the G90 is the flagship here in the Genesis model lineup, and just had a redo here for 2020. And so it is still based on the same chassis and same platform as the old G90, but it does have these completely new looks and a nicely updated interior here as well. And it's really impressive. Both the outside and the inside both feel very luxurious and expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely super luxurious, and it's crazy how many people still to this day don't know what a Genesis is, and now this car can really show people how exciting that this new brand is going to be.
Yeah, and it just, it turns a lot of heads too. So many people, I think, just think this is a Bentley because it looks a lot like a Bentley in a lot of ways. And yeah, this interior, yeah, it's very nice and luxurious. I love the open pore wood you have here and the metal trim on a lot of the stuff. Everything else seems to be covered in leather, as you would expect from a vehicle, which, by the way, this one as tested is about $76,000. These do start in the lower 70s, but it's very nice. So first thing, sitting down in these seats, you have these 22-way seats. So it's 22 ways for the driver, and the passenger is 16-way seats. They're really soft and comfortable, and they even have adjustable bolstering, which does tighten up in sport mode, which is a cool little trick. And another really cool little trick is it has this smart positioning seat where you actually hit that button and you put in your weight, your height, and your inseam, and it automatically adjusts the seat to where it thinks would be the ideal position for you. And I actually set that up, and we took this vehicle on a long road trip. We've put over 700 miles on it, and it was perfectly comfortable in that position. I didn't have to adjust it at all. It was great. It's a super comfortable seat. Of course has lumbar adjustments and stuff like that too. The only thing it's missing is massage. That is something that the more expensive competitors from other brands do offer, a massage function that isn't present here. But otherwise, they're heated and cooled seats, and very comfortable for sure.
Yeah, it never gave me any type of problems or anything, and 16 ways is perfect for me.
Moving on, the steering wheel here in the G90 is also a very nice wheel. So the whole thing is covered in leather. Even the lower parts here have, a little bit of a firmer leather to it, but it has a great 9-3 grip, nice 10-2 notches, just a few buttons here, and these buttons are the same as any other Hyundai or Kia or Genesis for that matter. So it's not the most expensive feeling steering wheel in this segment. Nothing in the Genesis is going to be the nicest in its segment because you're looking at all the German competitors that are over six figures, 25, 30, 35, 50, whatever, $1,000 more expensive than this. So this isn't going to be the nicest, but it is the best value, and that's the thing you keep coming back to with the Genesis brand. The gauges in the Genesis are really the only spot where this does feel a little bit behind and a little bit cheaper. You have analog gauges, and these days basically all the competitors do have mostly digital gauges, and they just feel higher tech because of it. These just look a little more old-fashioned. Some people might prefer that. If you do, this is right up your alley. If you don't, that is probably the only part about this interior that doesn't feel worthy of its price tag, because they look like they could be the same gauges out of any other Hyundai product, honestly, which is the only disappointment. But it does give you some other little adjustments here, in the middle of this gauge cluster, and so it is full color, high resolution, but it really only gives you your trip information and a few other basic things. It won't even display like your audio or anything in there. I guess they just assume that you have this massive screen, so you don't need it. You do have a heads-up display though, and that will display your speed limit, and also your safety info and any kind of adaptive cruise stuff you have going on there. And so that's nice to have. But coming over to this massive 12-inch widescreen infotainment display, it is really impressive, and it's nice that it's touchscreen, because although it is a little bit of a reach, you do have a controller here if you don't want to do that reach. But even with the reach, it's not that bad. And whenever you use the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration this has, having that with a touch experience is really, I think, the best way to use that, since that's how you use it on your phone. So it's nice that it has that. And unlike some other competing vehicles, this will have the entire screen taken up with your smartphone integration. Some others, they try and split it up and stuff, but having 12 inches of CarPlay is really cool with, Waze and your music and album art being massive, all those types of things. It's really cool the way that it fills that display.
I will say that it is ever so slightly tilted towards the driver, but it's not that bad. I was able to use it completely fine on our road trip, and I was able to touch the farthest part of the screen that's towards him. So honestly, it wasn't that bad.
But yeah, it works really great even in the normal Genesis menus here. It's all logically arranged, and actually for the Genesis menus, I like using the controller better because it's very very easy to just like scroll through whatever, you know, functions you want to use. You know, turning through the radio stations, all that kind of stuff is very easy because you thankfully do still have a volume and a tune knob, which is not something you get for a lot of the others. Like BMW likes having a rocker switch instead of a tune knob and stuff. So that's more and more rare. So the simplicity of this system I really appreciate. It doesn't make me super confused like some of the other high-end German stuff does sometimes. So very easy to handle there, and I like it a lot. Also, going along with this infotainment system, you have this Lexicon surround sound stereo that's 17 speakers, which these days doesn't sound like a lot of speakers considering, you know, you have like the Bose Panorama system from Cadillac that's like 30 speakers, and a lot of the Mercedes and, you know, Audi all kind of have more speakers than this. But, you know, they have the nice metal facing on them, and yeah, it sounded pretty good. I honestly wasn't listening to a whole lot of music whenever we were on this road trip. Yeah. But, you know, from the little bit that I sampled, it still sounded really nice. And, yeah, I mean, I don't have any complaints with it. You know, obviously, if you're looking for the highest end stereo, all the other competitors are probably going to have a, you know, better stereo than this does. But, you know, it still is, I think, good enough for most people, unless you're a real audiophile that dissects every little thing. I had no complaints. I thought it sounded very good, especially with a wired-in source. Coming down beneath that, you have a nice little analog clock, and then just a row of buttons here with the metal plating on them, and then another row of metal buttons here with your auto climate control. And they also just have a couple of knobs, and, you know, nice and simple once again, so that's great. You know, then you just have a couple buttons back here for your heated seat controls, your heated steering wheel, and that controller, and that's it. So it's nice and simple.
And I also love that the heated and cooled seats are right next to you. That is so nice. You don't have to reach forward or anything. All you have to do is reach to the side, hit it real quick, and then you're good.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really great setup there. I do wish sometimes when I'm driving, I can't hit the heated steering wheel button without looking. And so having them back here as a driver is a little bit trickier, but you know, that's something you can usually set up whenever you're setting off before you start driving. But if you're like, oh, I actually want to turn on my heated seat after all when you're driving, it is a little bit harder for me to find it, but as a passenger, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, then moving on to the storage space here in the G90, it's pretty good for a vehicle like this. So in the doors here, you have a large pocket, which does have a little bit of a bottle cutout. It's not the biggest pocket, but, you know, should be good enough, I think.
There is definitely no bottle holder over on the passenger side, though. I will say that. I tried to put a water bottle in there, and all you can do is put it sideways, so that's a no-go for the passenger.
All right, well, I think the driver is probably the same, so I guess it just looks a little bit bigger than it actually is, so that's good to know. I didn't try putting a bottle in, I'm glad you did. And so you have that. Otherwise, in the center here, you do have this wireless charging pad, and it is just large enough that it fits my iPhone 11 Pro without any issues, and I can have it plugged in because this is the only USB jack that controls the smartphone integration. So you're going to have it on this wireless charging pad plugged in, which is kind of redundant, but that's how you do the smartphone integration here. But it's nice. It kind of, you know, slides down in there, and you can hide it away here, and so a nice little solution there. You have your two cup holders, and then you have the center armrest, which is, you know, it does have some leather padding to it, and I didn't have any complaints, honestly. It's a little bit on the firm side, but this is kind of the German way. They all, like the BMW, Mercedes, none of these have pillow soft armrests. Generally, they usually have a little bit of a firmer feel, and so this fits right in with that, and I think it's comfortable enough.
Yeah, and also, at least for you and I, we're a little bit on the smaller side, and these seats are a little bit bigger, so like I never had to put my arm on the armrest or anything, so you never know how you could go.
Yeah, it just depends on your body type and stuff. But yeah, I mean, honestly, with my seat in the position where it usually is, yeah, my elbow usually is a little bit further up anyway. So not a big deal there. But anyway, you open that up, and it does split in the middle, which I'm sure you'll appreciate.
Yeah, I can definitely see things that are inside, which is very nice.
Yeah, because that's something a lot of the others don't offer in other vehicles we come across. So that's great, but then it's a fairly small amount of space, but it's good enough. You can, you know, certainly fit large smartphones, sunglass cases, all that kind of stuff in there, no problem. There's a little tray here on the top you can remove. And then you'll see actually two traditional power outlets in there. No additional USB jacks, but of course, if you do want to turn that into a USB jack, you could always get a little adapter, you know, to do that. But kind of strange, there isn't more than one USB jack up front here. You actually have more USB USB jacks in the back than you do in the front, which is kind of funny. Backseat space here in the G90 is also, I mean, super nice. That's kind of one of the big things about the G90 is it's, you know, it's like executive sedan. You're supposed to be chauffeured around in the back there because it's very luxurious back there. So first off, as far as the amount of space you have, obviously it's generous. I mean, I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself, I have over a foot of legroom to spare. I mean, it's not quite enough, I don't think, to actually put up my feet on a footrest or anything. You don't have a footrest. That is something you get with some of the longer wheelbase versions of some of the competing vehicles. But again, those, you're talking about six-figure stuff. It's a super comfortable back seat. It does have a recline function as well, so you can recline a little bit. Now, it's not like it's laying down like a bed or anything, but it does give you a little bit of extra relaxation back there if you have it in that reclined position. And also, you have all the other stuff that usually you have to get with other vehicles. You get an executive package to give you all this stuff, but the G90, it just comes with it, where you have this whole center console control area. And so with that, first off, you'll see there's cup holders that pop out of the front of it, but you have your auto climate control there for that, and they also have heated and cooled seats back there as well. They also have a controller so that they can actually command the infotainment system, and you see that they have screens mounted to the backs of the seats here. So yeah, you have to use a controller for that. There are not touchscreen, but it doesn't do a whole lot of advanced stuff. Now, if you are being chauffeured around in this, you can still control the navigation, control the radio, all that kind of stuff, which is very cool.
But for kids, you might not want to let them have that full control. So I don't know if you're getting this car for kids, but if you are, just a warning.
Yeah, and also, I don't think you can just stream anything on those screens. So if you want to have, you know, an iPad or something on there, you know, you could just, I guess, stick it on to that screen. But those screens aren't going to be like DVD players like you get in a minivan or something like that. And so, but yeah, and then other things there in that center control area, you also have another little extra cubby. You also have an armrest that opens up, and in that you will see another USB jack and another power outlet. Also, when you look forward, you'll see dedicated air vents, as well as another pop-out area where you see two more power outlets. It's kind of strange. A lot of others will have a normal plug, or they'll have USB jacks. This just has cigarette lighters back there. So it's like, you know, I guess there's no smoking package, I don't think, as far as actually turning those into cigarette lighters. But, you know, just kind of funny that you have the older power outlets there instead of some of the newer stuff, but not a huge deal there. And then you also do have pockets in those doors. Also, you do have a ski pass through. You cannot fold those seats down since you have that recline function and stuff. You also have mirrors mounted in the ceiling there, which is really nice, along with sunshades back there. There's also a rear sunshade you can put up with the push of a button. As you can see there, it's going up, and so that also gives you a little bit of extra relaxation in the back there if you want. So it's a very, very nice back seat. You have more of that leather and open pore wood and stuff, and so yeah, I think it definitely lives up to the luxury and is a really good value, again, being 76 to have all that stuff.
Yeah, and you also get that privacy. So if you are famous, this will be perfect for you because no one will be able to see who you are in the back.
Yeah, there you go. It's all set up for an executive ready to go. But yeah, and then moving on to the trunk space here in the G90, it's of course a very large trunk. It's not, you know, insanely large or anything though, but I mean, it fits right in line with all the other full-size luxury sedans in this segment. There isn't any space underneath the floor or anything like that, but it is nice to have a little netting there to hold things down. And yeah, plenty of space back there, and very competitive, I think, with everything else in this segment of vehicle. But yeah, overall, yeah, I think that's about all of our thoughts here on the G90 interior. I just have to add too, though, I love the like navy blue leather. It might not come out on video quite as vivid as it actually is, but the dark blue leather is a nice change from just black leather you see normally, and that combined with this darker wood, it gives it a really nice feel. You know, I do wish there was like a little bit of extra padding by your knees here. That's really not too soft. But again, this vehicle is so large, I didn't find myself actually bumping up against this a whole lot, and so I didn't have any real complaints. You know, we drove it over 700 miles. I talked more about the road trip and how it drove on that road trip in my driving review, which I will link above if you want to hear more thoughts on how it did on the road trip. But as far as the interior went, I think it was a very comfy place to be, obviously, for 10 hours or so.
Yeah, definitely. And for a passenger, I felt really comfortable the whole time and never had any complaints either. So
yeah. But anyway, that's all our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on the Genesis G90 in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.